Happy New Year! Last year, on December the 21st, I saw Star Wars The Force Awakens. I liked it quite a bit, I enjoyed it, and thought that it was good. However, naturally I didn't like everything about it, so I'd like to take a minute to just give a brief overview of what I thought was good and what I thought was not so good. There'll be spoilers. Well, it's been a while, but there'll be spoilers. I guess there are three categories. The good, the bad, and the I'll start with the good, move on to the not so good, meh, stuff, and then finally move on to the things I thought sucked, though there's just basically like one thing, more or less. There'll be spoilers, by the way. So, the good stuff. What did I like? There'll be spoilers. I liked that the cinematography was dynamic this time, and wasn't the lifeless reverse shot heavy stuff from the prequels. I liked the character dynamics. I liked how poppy and snappy everything was. It had that fast-paced New Hope feel, which is unsurprising since this movie is basically New Hope 2 Electric Boogaloo. But it was nice to see characters who felt like real human beings and not these sort of dry, detached Jedi. It was great seeing Harrison Ford take the role seriously and look like he was actually enjoying himself. In Indy 4 Kingdom of the Nyeh, he looked bored as hell and like he didn't give a shit, and that was reflected in the audience because his acting was insincere and therefore sucked. In Force Awakens, since he actually cares, we care, and he was able to conjure some of his old charisma back that makes the Han Solo character. I also liked that after moving apart from Leia he went back to being a smuggler. It fits the character a lot because he was only in the rebellion because of Leia and Luke. So of course he'd go back to doing what he was good at. They moved apart because of their son, Ben Solo, turning to the dark side and becoming Kylo Ren TM and joining the First Order TM. Well, you see, Kylo Ren was interesting. The character is kind of a little shit, really. A conflicted edgelord, like a kid going through a goth phase, but with lightsabers and mass murder instead of Hot Topic and pot. He wants to be bad, but he feels the pull of the good. That makes him more of a pitiful, pathetic character than a fearsome one. This works on a character level, which is why I liked it. I liked it on that level. Though in terms of the plot, there are some problems I have with this, which I'll get into later. So, what else did I like? It was funny. BB-8 was funny. Chewie was funny. This scenery-chewing space Nazi was funny. Oh, and the ship design is cool as hell, especially the new Star Destroyer type ship. Everything looks like updated versions of the trilogy stuff, and lightsabers. Now there will be spoilers again, by the way, in actual fact. Okay, so in this movie they tried to move away from the politics-heavy prequels, but I think perhaps they moved too far away. To some extent you can just fill in this stuff for yourself. It's pretty clear that the First Order is holding separate territory from the New Republic, and the Resistance are revolutionaries within First Order territory funded by the Republic. Some other things aren't really delved into when they probably should have been. The whole plot makes Luke into a MacGuffin who everyone wants to find, but it would have been interesting to see what the First Order perspective on this really is. Is it just revenge? We know that Luke was training Jedi, but he stopped doing so, and apparently the reason is because one of those Jedi became Kylo Ren and joined the First Order, so in a way he gave them an asset, if inadvertently, and is now in hiding. It would have been nice to have had some kind of equivalent of the scene in A New Hope, where Grand Moff Tarkin, Vader, and several Imperials discussed the significance of the Death Star, which was what the plot revolved around in that movie. Of course, in Force Awakens there is a Death Star. Starkiller base, but the plot really revolves around Luke. Instead of carrying data to defeat the superweapon, BB-8 carries data crucial to finding Luke. Something really about this whole thing is how weak Kylo Ren comes across in the movie, or maybe it's just how overly powerful Rey is. Rey, after apparently just learning about the Force, masters mind tricks almost instantly, is able to fight back against Ren, and when she escapes, he acts like she will grow more and more powerful just 'cause. And at the end of the movie, she defeats him in combat. She beats him. How good is Ren then, really? It seems like Rey is too powerful, but even Finn almost beats Kylo Ren, or at least gives him way too much trouble. You can justify this due to Kylo being emotionally compromised after, spoilers, he kills Han, spoilers, and is injured by Chewie. He certainly thinks killing his father will make him more powerful, which is why he asks him to die for him, but I can buy that this backfired on him. The issue isn't about plausibility, given the universe. It's about storytelling and themes. Imagine if at the end of A New Hope, Luke had picked up Ben's lightsaber and used it to defeat Darth Vader. It would have sucked. It took Luke until the second movie until he was able to challenge Vader, and even then he only did so because Vader was trying not to kill him, and remember that there are years between these movies. It takes training before a novice can even hope to match up to a trained Sith Lord, unless you're Kylo Ren, and then you can defeat him a few hours after first feeling the Force. It was even a great scene, emotionally, and how it looked, and how it was choreographed. Probably the best lightsaber fight in the series, second to the one in Empire. But plot-wise, it has a really stupid conclusion. Rey should have lost soundly and been the one saved by the ground splitting in half. Kylo Ren sucks, apparently. I even found out that his weird lightsaber doesn't have a crossguard, so much that these are just vents for excess lightsaber-y stuff, because he just sucks at making lightsabers. The crossguard didn't really make sense to begin with, because lightsabers just seem to stick together and they don't slide down each other, like a sword might. Apparently, it's just that way because he sucks at building them. Luke really mustn't have got very far in his training at all, which kind of takes away the impact. Maybe it's just a big deal because it's Han's son, but, the movie acknowledges that he needs more training, and Snoke says he'll complete his training at the end of the movie, but the whole thing just raises questions about the integrity of the plot. If Luke hardly trained Kylo Ren to the extent where he can be defeated by a novice in the Force, and even have trouble with someone who apparently isn't Force sensitive, then why is it such a big problem that he's gone bad? Yeah, it's a shame, and he's Han and Leia's son and all, and that must have really hurt Luke, but why couldn't Luke have easily defeated him, or even just trained another of his students for longer than a few hours? Go beat Kylo Ren now, and bring him back here. Pull him along by his ear, and I'll give him a good hiding. So, does Luke just suck at training people? Then why is everyone after him? Why is the search for Luke the linchpin of the plot? Presumably in the second movie, Luke is going to train Rey, and she's going to become even more powerful, so she can defeat Kylo Ren, who she has already defeated, unless Snoopy's training is better than Luke's, which is possible since Kylo Ren sucks. But then if so, why care about Luke, unless Luke's training is fine and Kylo Ren sucks too bad to be trained by anyone, but then in which case why care about Kylo Ren? Yes, I'm sure they'll explain this stuff in the second movie, but I have a feeling it will just get worse from here on that front. Is Kylo Ren going to come back and be super powerful, even though Luke's training was supposed to be the reason he was so dangerous, and why the First Order wanted after Luke, even though we've seen that Kylo Ren blows massive chunks? He sucks, he's terrible. Even though he could stop blaster bolts, apparently, which seems really impressive. Maybe that was the one thing he got good at, and Luke thought he'd be really dangerous because of that, but it turns out he sucks at everything else. He clearly put all his mana points in bolt stopping and didn't have any left for lightsaber skills. It's a movie. Star Wars has always been about the simple things. The thing is, there's nothing really like this in A New Hope. The whole droid carrying data plot in A New Hope makes sense. Here, the droid carrying data plot is ridiculously thin, and the importance of Luke seems to be contradicted by the events of the movie. It manages to be both simple and convoluted at the same time somehow. Oh well, it's just a movie. I spent a long time on that Luke, Kylo Ren, Rey plot. What else was meh? Ray's accent bugs me. She kind of over-enunciates things. I'm waiting for my family. It's a nitpick. It's kind of cruel. Like, I have a shitty British accent too, but then I'm not in movies. The other thing was that the soundtrack was extremely underwhelming. There are no real memorable new themes here, except snippets of old stuff is used and abused. I love John Williams' work, but I never thought I'd see the day when he'd begin to produce such tepid scores after being the master of stirring triumphalism like no one else. Actually, those days began during Indy 4. Maybe it's just that he's run out of all the great sounding chord progressions possible, so everything left he can actually do sounds weaker. I don't know, I don't know much about music theory. A minor thing, again, a minor thing. Time to move on beyond things that are just weird or confusing to things that I think are actually bad and probably shouldn't be there. And there isn't really much. The bad stuff. There'll be spoilers, Han dies, photon torpedoes can't melt Durasteel beams. The Starkiller base. There's a line. There is a line. You can go wink wink with the references up to a point, but you can't borrow stakes and tension from A New Hope without the plot line that supports them. There's a third Death Star, essentially, but by now it doesn't even matter because its weak points are already known in advance. This is pretty sloppy. They try to get away with this by having Han lampshade it, but I'm pretty sure we're supposed to take the ultimate threat of the movie at least a little seriously. Otherwise, what's the point of having an ultimate threat in the movie? The Starkiller base is just something that just sort of turns up. I don't buy the idea that it was necessary to have a Death Star XP in order to create more of a threat than there already was. The best Star Wars movie, Empire, doesn't have to rely on that trend, and after 3 movies like that, it's probably time to retire the giant but incredibly trivial to destroy battle station. It was even hokey in Return of the Jedi, but at least there the Emperor was trying to pull a fake out and set a trap for everyone, and even then we know many Bothans died for the information. Back in A New Hope, it was the entire plot of the movie, since R2's data was critical for defeating the station. Here, the droid plot is the weird Luke thing, so not so much. All we have is that Finn used to work there, but it turns out he was a janitor or something for comedy. Lol. Look, the scene where they destroyed Not Coruscant was cool, but it's really not very impressive if they can just blow up the station willy-nilly without any vital plans or any real supporting plot thread at all. It just becomes pointless, and when a giant battle station that can destroy planets is pointless, that's just plain bad. The fact this movie is so much like A New Hope while not being able to set up everything it wants to take from A New Hope properly is pretty bad. The end result is a good movie because every scene is competently made, but the plot isn't as well thought out as A New Hope, which was naturally super simple, but at the same time much more coherent and well structured. So, to sum up finally, I really liked the movie. There are things I don't like about it, but a lot of the samey stuff is there as a crutch, so they can return to form after the prequels. Hopefully, with the sequels to Force Awakens, they can kick that crutch away, and we can see them develop original, but still Star Warsy ideas. Overall, I give the movie a good out of excellent. I'm not sure where to place it in relation to the other movies. It's nowhere near as good as A New Hope and Empire, but it might actually be better than Jedi. Jedi has greater highs than Force Awakens, but it also has more lows. I can't decide, but it might be close. So maybe Return the Jedi of Empire is the rating for this movie.